welcome to another episode of Independent Artists Unite song series. We're having a fully European day today, going from Denmark to the UK with Andrew from Rogue FX. Welcome.
Hello, Scott. Hello, how
Nice,
you doing?
nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, as well.
Back and forth a
Looking
little
good
bit here.
there
Yeah, as
in the
are you.
sunnies.
As are you. Yeah, well, it's very sunny in Denmark today. Very
Yeah,
sunny.
we're having our 1 week of summer as well
Are you
in
okay?
the
Yeah,
UK.
yeah, yeah. Because I know a lot of cloud cover in the UK.
Yeah,
I've only been there once. I went to London for I think 4 days, and it was cloudy, but it was amazing how low the clouds were.
mm.
It really felt like, whoa,
Yeah,
you
smog.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a low
London
cloud cover.
does get pretty warm. Probably that's one of the reasons it's all enclosed. But yeah, I'm up in the north
Okay.
of the UK, so a bit cooler.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we've got the sun today, so you can't complain.
So today we're going to talk about We Leave With Nothing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the sound first, because what I hear is a real love of 80s music. And talk about that and some of your influences, and yeah, because I'm curious where all that comes from.
Yeah, I mean, originally, obviously, I'm not, I'm not actually giving anything away to say I'm actually the wrong size at the side of the big 50 now. So that 80s, music is obviously something I've lived through.
Hmm.
Um, and although you kind of stepped away from it a bit in the 90s, I think everybody did stepped away from that 80s sound.
Yeah.
Um, Started to come back, didn't it? And around the turn of millennium, a lot of music started to get that influence again. And I was originally, I used to be late 80s synth pop bands and things like that before I abandoned it for house music. And I kind of never left me that kind of love for it. But and that's what I wanted to revisit as
Mm.
Rogue Effects. There's a little bit of a clash on the 90s, probably early 90s sound, but that 80s sound is, really close to my heart. And yeah, I want to get that across.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was, I'm also on the far side of 50, and lived through it. And I was in a band in the 90s that was very kind of glam, goth glam kind of thing. And that was
Yeah,
hard enough in the midst of grunge and all that stuff. But you're right, it
yeah.
was very uncool to be 80s at that point.
It was,
And
yeah,
yeah, something happened, because I went, did I read that about you, that you went a period too without making music?
yeah.
Yeah,
20
because
years, yeah.
yeah, same with me. I also went 20 years, so that's very interesting. Yeah,
Mm,
because I really kind of abandoned it in 2000, and I was just I just don't know. Well, I had a big implosion with drugs and all this kind of thing, so
right, yeah,
that was challenging. But
yeah.
it was yeah, that's what kind of got me into making music again too, because I was like, wait a second, what's happening here? And I
Mm,
started hearing more and more
very similar.
music that that reminded me of the 80s and had little tinges in it. And I was like, wait, I like this. And then it also made me kind of reclaim that music, because I was always, I was a little embarrassed, of
Yeah,
growing up in the 80s. You kind of feel like, oh, the 70s, Zeppelin, the 90s, grunge, and 80s were kind of like, shh,
yes, I know, yeah.
Duran, Human League, shh. It just wasn't
Yeah,
cool. But then suddenly it was, and
yeah, I know.
so
Very similar.
it made me kind of think, whoa, that stuff was
Yeah,
cool, and that
yeah.
there were some really great songwriters from the 80s that I just totally took for granted, so I kind of went
Yeah,
back and revisited them. I was like, this stuff is fantastic.
yeah, yeah. And it's a bit of a golden era, and it was a shame it was out of fashion for so long. But it's good. It's come back.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when you,
But it is a very similar story, Scott, to myself. You know, it was
yeah,
around the turn of millennium again where I stopped.
yeah.
I remember doing a track 1999. That's the last time I remember doing a track. And
And what
then,
were the
yeah, it was,
circumstances around you stopping and starting again?
oh, I just stopped, got out the habit, you
Mm,
know, started to settle down a little bit. I think in those days, there wasn't so much of the computerized stuff. So you had all the keyboards and
yeah.
samplers around you, and we used to share them with the other guy in the band, and he had them. He took them after that point, and I didn't get them back. And that was one of the
Oh God, yeah,
well, that was one of the reasons.
yeah,
But then, you know, got married, had kids, all that kind of stuff,
yeah.
and
Me too. Yeah,
just stopped doing it. Yeah.
yeah.
Nothing, you know, nothing really more than that. It just kind of drifted away.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never, my brain, I never really connected the resurgence of this type of music with the fact that all these people like you and me that lived through the 80s are now
Yeah.
at home, with kids, and we're like, ooh, digital recording technology. Now
Exactly.
I
Yeah, yeah.
can do
I'm
this
trying.
while the kids are playing in the other room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I do a lot of mine on my knee on the couch. They sat next to me a lot of the
Yeah,
time watching
it's
YouTube, whatever it is they watch. But
yeah,
yeah,
right.
I think it's a big. There's a lot of younger people, you know, 20s, 30s that just love the synth wave and the goth and that influence has just gone into them, and I think that so there's that mixed in with the kind of older crowd that's lived it through that era and making music again.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're sitting down and you're going to work on a song like we Live with Nothing, are you thinking, are you trying different sounds
Yeah.
out and being like, that's not 80s enough? Or is it just something that comes naturally, like it comes out with this like 80s, um,
Yeah, no, I think it comes
influence?
pretty natural to me, that
Yeah.
80s sound. For a lot of the time when I write, and We Live with Nothing was a little bit different, but I kind of plan it out in my head a little bit. Things pop into my head when I'm, you know, doing whatever in the shower, walking a dog, driving somewhere, and I record it in whether that's a synth riff or a little bit of vocal or whatever. Um, and so I had a lot of it planned out, and then it gets down to doing, recording it in the door. It's just a case of I know what kind of sounds I like.
Mm,
It's I'm just one of those people where when I play a riff, it sounds like an 80s riff. But this song actually is originally from the 80s in
oh,
its original
interesting. Okay.
form. 1988, we did a track, the band I was in, called You Give Me Nothing,
Okay.
and nearly got us signed up to CBS Records actually at the time. We got an interview with the A&R. We went in there, bit like we had our backing singers with them. They were like, this was the 80s, so it was like,
Hmm.
oh, you can leave your girlfriends outside. They were the backing singers. Oh, and you can take your sunglasses off, lads. So it wasn't the best, but he planned to come and see us doing a showcase on the strength of that
Hmm.
track. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
but that showcase never happened, for one reason or another. So it
Mm,
kind of fell through. Story of my life. But that I always remembered the riffs and the New Order style kick
mm,
drum.
yeah.
I was reminded of by the other lad in the band,
Mm,
So, but I never forgot the riffs, never forgot the kind of main melody. But I changed it quite a bit for
mm.
this version. But yeah, that's when it stems from, 1988. So it's got a very 80s sound.
Okay. And so those orchestra stabs are actually from the 80s.
They are, yeah, living and breathing 80s
I
orchestral
love it.
stabs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have them on quite a few songs, to be honest. But I try not to. It's like hand claps. Someone's mentioned the
Yeah,
hand
like
claps
yeah,
on
yeah,
another.
yeah.
I have them on so much.
It's
Toms,
like you
all
need a
those
it's
things.
like you need a whiteboard. Hand claps, check. No, I can't do that. Orchestral stabs, no.
I know. Yeah. Yes.
But I love your vocals too. And I was just talking to my producer, James K. Ultra, a pain in the ass. I don't know if you know him,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
but
I've got a few of his songs on the playlist, on my playlist. Yeah, like it's
yeah, and
good stuff.
we were talking about vocalists in the 80s, and I was talking about how I loved that there were these every vocalist from the 80s had this really strong personality, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yes.
I was actually talking to the guy from April Afternoon. I don't know if you've
Oh yeah,
heard
yeah,
him at
Tim.
all. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And that also reminded me of that too, where it's you just get a real sense of personality from your vocal, and
mm,
it's very confident in a way. And I don't know if that comes I think it came for me too, being on the other side of 50, where you get to, you have so many less fucks to give.
yeah.
You
Uh,
become comfortable and
Less
you're like, hey,
shame,
this
less
is it.
embarrassed about
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
it. You
You're
know,
right.
whatever. I mean, with me, it's like everyone says, oh, you sound like David Bowie. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, I take it as a compliment. It used to bother
yeah.
me.
You
Oh,
do have that sound. Yeah, yeah,
I was like, oh, are you trying to tell me I sound like David Bowie, and therefore I will never be anything but a David Bowie pretender, and I should just give up? Is that what you're saying? You know?
yeah.
And now I'm just like, okay, yeah.
Just embrace it. Yeah,
Thank you, and let's go. And but yeah, you have this confidence in your vocal, and there's a personality there, because I think sometimes in this digital world, at least in pop
mm,
music today, because you can make everything perfect,
yeah,
people, it seeps in that the idea that a vocal is supposed to be completely perfect and completely smooth and completely this, and it drains like the personality out of it, you know, of like
yeah. I
in the
know.
80s when you had these actual performances, you know, to tape, you know, back then. And it was like you know, there was just so much more personality. And you go back to the music of that time, you hear
Yeah,
you know, you hear a
you can
bum
hear there
note
wasn't
once in a
auto
while.
tune
Yeah,
all over it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And but it's not
yeah,
even the auto tune thing. To me, it's like the personality, you know, because if
yeah,
there's a personality there, it carries you, you know, whether
yeah,
there's what you know, no matter what's happening. So, and I really think you have that. You have a real, you know, it's like what it does to me as a listener is I can relax and just like listen to you, you know, and listen to what you have to say and what the song's doing, without thinking, oh, is this person frightened of what they're actually doing?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think you've got it as well, Scott. And it's just like, it's from that era. You always knew kind of which bands were on the radio. You
Mm,
recognized the voices. People had their own identity, and
yeah.
I personally think that's lost a lot now. If
Mm,
I still listen to contemporary uh, radio, as well as the indie channels. And although I'm not saying all music's bad, there's some really good music out there still. There definitely is that kind of lack of identity, and there's only kind, to me, there's less artists where you could hear and think,
yeah.
oh, I know who that is. There's a lot
Yeah.
where you hear and actually I'm not sure who's singing. And I think,
It's true.
although
Yeah.
they are absolutely perfect in production, and you know, n- no perfect throughout, I think that has lost some of the character that
Yeah. Yeah.
80s and into the 90s as well had. So I think that it's one of those things where you're dragged kicking and screaming into the future, and I don't really, I want to try to retain a kind of legacy from the 80s, 90s in the vocal style, rather than
Yeah.
just go into how it is today.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I was surprised. I mean, I'm listening to like the guys nowadays too, and I don't want anyone to throw rocks at me, but it's just to say, like for instance, two bands that I really love, Twin Tribes and oh my God, my brain is now not working with the what is that band? Confetti, you know that?
Yeah,
No,
don't know them.
I'm gonna have to look because I oh, Cold Cave. Cold Cave. And
Right.
I really like
Yeah, not
Cold Cave.
familiar.
I really like Twin
Right.
Tribes. They're kind of like these goth wave bands. And but if you like listening to both of their earlier stuff, it's like, I mean, I love it, but that personality is
Mm,
not there because it's become a type, you know what I mean, of this, like the
Mm,
synth
mhm.
riff and the arpeggio synth and this reverb vocal that's like that kind of
Yeah,
goth
got you. Yeah,
wave, or I mean, what do they call it? Like dark wave sound. And I'm just want to be
yeah,
like, guys, come on, man, put some personality in there and do
yeah,
some, I don't
yeah,
know,
yeah. Get
something.
your own personality on it. Yeah, I think, yeah.
I mean, it's
There's a bit
like
of a fear
on
to do that. Yeah.
on the completely other end of it is like someone like Billy Idol from the '80s was actually sitting there going, "Wow,"
Yeah,
no, nobody
but he
gives a
did okay.
wow today.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
That kind of personality you just can't find, today. Um, Now I want to talk about also the lyrics, um, because
yeah,
you mentioned, I was reading the description of the song on Bandcamp, and you described that it's kind of like this War of the Roses breakup
mm,
scenario. Um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
And so I was wondering, is it wholly that? Because I don't know if it's just where I am at too, having just gone through a breakup, that I immediately go, metaphysical with the whole thing of, we can't take it with us, when we die, that
Yeah.
we can't take anything with us. Were you thinking that too, or was it purely about like this War of the Roses breakup? Uh,
Yeah. I mean, I've had some losses recently, in the family. Lost my
mm,
mum, but it was after I'd written the song in
mm.
its new form, and I think that yeah, you do start to think, well, it's got other connotations to it as well,
Mm,
and certainly the "We Leave with Nothing" has got, you come here, and when you go, all your worldly goods is, you don't take them with you. But
mm,
I think in terms of the song, what I wanted to do, as I say, it was originally a song um, from the 80s called "You Give Me Nothing." It was a very one-sided type of song,
mm,
um, but I wanted to do it from both sides. This is a relationship that is just, both. It's not working from both sides. There's
mm,
infidelities on both sides. There's cheating. There's lying. There's no trust on either side. At one point, it was good, but then it's kind of unraveled until this, you know to this really bad place, and there's just nothing to take from it at the end. It's
mm,
just, you know, there's nothing really good to take from it. It's just ended up in a really, really bad place, which is the War of the Roses in a movie where it just all ends horribly.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I use a lot of rose imagery on it as well. But
Mm,
that's kind of the movie. I always try to get a movie like linked to it, and that was the one that came to us. So yeah,
yeah.
it's coming from both perspectives of that relationship. Yeah.
It's interesting. I've had this experience lately too, where I've written a song. Sometimes I thought it was about one thing, and sometimes I don't even know what it's about. And then something happens in my life, like you're talking about, a loss of people. Of course, it keeps happening with regularity at this age,
Yeah.
and and then it's really weird. I go back and like re-experience my own songs, like
Yeah, in
songwriting
different
like
ways.
that, and yeah, in different
Yeah.
ways. And it's like that's a pretty cool experience, actually.
I think, yeah, and it's yeah, a lot of songs, mean different things to different people. It's
Mm,
sometimes not too good to explain what the song is, but I think it's one of these things where you kind of expected to do it now. And again, going back in the day, I think a lot of it was left to imagination a bit more.
mm, yeah,
And songs can mean different things to different people. So yeah, I think, yeah, in this track again, it can mean what you want it to mean. I'm not precious. Whatever you want it to mean, it's good with me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Describe like when you went back to making music, like why do you do this? Why keep going? Why keep writing music? I'm always curious
Yeah.
to hear.
No, I think I just got a love for doing it.
Mm,
It's just gives you a bit of a buzz. It's not easy, takes a lot of time up. Um, you don't really get the return you really want, although, I haven't done too bad, but, you always want to do better. It's
Mm,
hard, but I think, um, you got to want to do it, haven't you? You've got to want to do it. And I think I've just got these. I didn't do tracks for 20 years. I do regret that. You know, I wish
mm,
I'd kept going. I think I'd have been a lot further forward if I had than
mm,
if I just, stopped and I just thought, well, I've got all of these songs that I want to get out of us and just put them out. If people listen, great. If they don't, then at least I've done it. At least I've given it a go. Because
yeah.
even in the 90s when I was making music, it was more your dance music,
Mm,
samples, little bits of vocal line here and there. It wasn't songs like I was doing the 80s. So for Rogue Effects, I really wanted to get back to doing songs, which meant me singing, which is not something I'd actually done much of, but
oh,
other than
really?
in the
That's
kitchen or in
interesting.
the
Yeah,
shower.
because I really love it. Yeah, I really love your
Yeah,
vocals. Yeah.
so that's just I just want that's where it came from. Let's get some stuff done, let's get it out there, and I'll keep going until a few more years, I think. At least a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then we'll just see where we are.
Do you feel like you have more to say though at this age than you did as a
I
younger
think
man?
so, yeah. I
Yeah.
think, when I was writing songs before, I mean, it was, I was just a young kid, really, in the 80s. And even when I was doing the 90s, not a massive amount of life experience. I think it comes from you. Um, I mean, my songs are not massively deep, I would say, but they do come from a place of experience and a lot of it. I've got certain tracks, and I think I'm moving more into it a bit more,
Mm,
into that, a little bit more moving away from the typical, synth wave type of, um, neon nights. I've done that, and I still, I still like to do that and that kind of stuff. But trying to put some stories into the tracks and some, a bit deeper stuff than that. So it's nice to do both. But
no.
yeah.
And what do your kids think of the music? Do they listen to
Oh
it?
God, do not ask. Do not ask. It's like just the ultra cringe to them. They're really not. They're not into it. My
Say goodbye.
9-year-old, when he was a bit younger, was kind of okay, but now even he's jumped ship now. He's not. It's it's just cringe for them.
It's funny though. My do any of your kids are they musical at all?
Um,
Anyone play?
I think then my youngest one is
Yeah.
showing signs that he is. Um, my eldest doesn't even. He's all video games. My daughter, she does like music, not so much mine, but she likes it, but doesn't play it. But the 9-year-old, he's always like tapping a beat, or
Mm.
when we got a little keyboard, he's done a few little riffs on there. So yeah, he's my future hope of some kind of rock star synth pop god to come. I've got a
Like,
dream
come
on
on,
that.
man. Do you know what I could do for you? I can set
Got
you up
all
with
this
a
gear
whole.
here. I just pray something use it.
You know what's funny? My it's also my youngest, my son that's 12, and he plays piano, and I tried to hook him up with lessons, but he hates lessons, right? He likes to
Yeah.
get everything via YouTube tutorials,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
but
yeah.
he's learned all this stuff and he composes his own things. And then he wanted a guitar, and I bought him a guitar, and now he's got electric guitar, acoustic guitar, and he's playing all the time and he's writing stuff. But it's so funny because I'm principally a vocalist,
Yeah, yeah.
first and foremost, and he is writing songs that are instrumentals. I don't know if it's like totally a reaction to
Mhm.
all the singing I do, but I thought that was really funny that he listens to songs that are mostly instrumentals, and then he writes songs that, hey, why don't you put some
Mhm.
vocals on there, man? He's like, no, I just like to. That's just the music.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. There's a lot of love for instrumentals, in certain scenes, isn't there? But I'm the
Yeah.
same. I always say, well, you can stick a vocal on that. That's a lot of my collabs of people sending me instrumentals. So can you stick a vocal on that? It's written as an instrumental,
Mhm.
and you know, I just think there's only so much of a story you can tell on an instrumental. But it's got the place. Some of the best songs ever, instrumentals.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's
But it
good.
but
Good.
it
He sounds like he's gonna be yeah, he's gonna be successful in his music
well,
career there.
the problem is though, is that, like, I think they had too good of a childhood, because they don't have this thing if they wanna be a performer and get attention like I did, It's like, "Oh, I fucked them up. I gave them too much love and attention."
Yeah, gone the
Because
other
not
way.
I
Yeah,
got I have 3 kids, none of them wanna be a performer at all. They just wanna be in the background, and he really is talented. You could do we could make a song. No, no, no. I don't
yeah.
wanna put
There's time
anything out
yet.
there.
Time yet.
I don't wanna be a performer. Yeah, but none of
Yeah,
them have this thing where they wanna be a performer, so it's really funny as well.
yeah. Keep working on them.
Yeah. Well, what's coming next for Rogue FX? You got any plans, or are you just kinda
Yeah. So next, I've got another collab coming out a couple of weeks time, which is totally different to anything I've ever done.
oh, cool.
It's more of a '90s kind of chilled dance sound, but it's interesting track.
Mhm.
So that's coming out soon. But then I'm going to be working on my um, follow up to the Fifth Step EP. So at the moment I'm calling it the next step, which
Oh, I
is
like
so
that, yeah.
obvious
Yeah.
that. But I've done the first track for that. That's done and dusted, ready to go.
Oh,
I've got another
nice.
4 or 5. I've got it written in my head again. It's
Mhm.
got that whole story arc. It's that EP around. I'll not go into it here, but it's got a bit of a story arc of
Oh, cool.
you know
Yeah, yeah.
around a little bit of a total recall kind of thing,
Mm.
brought into modern day. But yeah, so I'm following that. It's the sequel. It's the final chapter. Um, what happened next to Max Rogue and Mind Corporation? You'll find out on this EP. So yeah, I've got
Oh,
a
that's cool, I like it.
where you've got it in your head, but you haven't got it in the door, and you think, oh, this is going to be loads of work. It's a little bit nerve wracking on that because the first one went down pretty well, but I'm going to change it up a little bit on this one. Try to get a few guitarists on it, maybe. Got a guitarist on the first one, just rocking a solo towards the end. But
Oh,
you
nice.
mentioned Billy Idol. I want to make that one track of a bit like Steve Stevens, Billy Idol. Still in the '80s, but shredding a little bit more. So we'll see how it goes. But that's the next main thing I'm going to be doing.
I have to tell you my Billy Idol story because this is also totally the way things happened in the '80s. Is
Go on.
I first saw him in it was right when Rebel Yell came out, and I saw him in like a high school gymnasium. That's how big it was.
Right.
It actually was a community college, but it looked like a high school gymnasium.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
his microphone was feeding back, and he was totally pissed and throwing the microphone. And then a year later, I saw him. This is in Pennsylvania. Um,
Yeah.
the first one was at Muhlenberg Community College, and then the second time was at the Philadelphia Spectrum that has the professional
Yeah.
basketball and hockey and all that stuff, and it was just incredible within a year
Yeah.
time to see it was totally sold out, and
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was before Eyes Without a Face. He said because it was Lionel Richie had the number one spot. And I think Eyes Without a Face was like number 3, and he was like, "Let's show Lionel Richie what's what and take this to number 1."
uh, that's not a bad impression, actually. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was
No, I
so
mean,
cool
he
to
was
see him.
massive in America, wasn't he? In
Oh
that era.
yeah, yeah, and it happened in 1 year because I saw it. It was just like it could have been. It wasn't even filled. the gymnasium.
Yeah.
It wasn't even filled with people. It was like you had to know of Billy Idol from like Gen X and stuff to
Yeah.
even
Well,
be
you were there at
interested.
the start.
And then it
Yeah.
was just boom. It was
Yeah.
really, really incredible.
Good
Yeah,
to
but
have a Billy Idol
he's still
style.
going. He's
He
still
is.
going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I
Yeah.
got his last two EPs actually on vinyl. Both good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really think it's cool that he's making new music. Yeah.
Yeah.
So more power to Billy Idol, more power to 80s influence music. And
Definitely.
yeah, thank you for your contributions. And we look forward to the next step.
Yes. That's
Come
it.
please
That's
come on again and talk about the next step
will do.
when
Will
you
do.
take it.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks for having me on, Scott.
Great to meet you, man.
All right.
Talk
Cheers.
to you soon. Bye.
See you. Bye.